Hello, this is the Council on Independent Fundamental Bible Doctrine. I am doing my next video in the Amazing Word series. This is only my second video in this series. The first video was a prophecy, just an amazing prophecy. And we're going to put a lot of science with this stuff so that you can see all the science that's in the Bible. Not all of it, but a good, I'm going to put a good portion of it on here so you can just see the way the Bible knows scientific facts thousands of years before science actually learned it. Okay? So that's what we're going to look at. This first one is titled Spaced Out. Job 26:7. He stretcheth out the north over the empty place, and hangeth the earth upon nothing. This was written probably around 2000 BC. Job is believed to be one of the oldest writings in the Bible by many scholars. We know that it was over 1,000 years later that science still believed that the world was held up by Atlas, okay, as well as a bunch of other theories like the Great Turtle and another religion, and all were wrong. The truth is that the earth floats hung upon nothing. And this was not understood even close to correctly until Copernicus and Galileo about 3,600 years later. But the Bible had it right before science caught up to it. Absolutely amazing insight. Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, the first three words of the Bible, proved right by science almost 4,000 years later. After the 1900s began and the invention of the long-range telescope, the Hubble, and others discovered that the universe was expanding outward. This was referred to as the cosmological constant. Distant galaxies are getting further away, which proved by throwing time in reverse, one would draw the universe into a point where it would have began. See, if it's expanding over time, then if you threw time into reverse, it would come back into a single point. So that proves that it had a beginning. Understand that up till this point, science had always thought that the universe had always existed, like the steady state theory, okay, as it was called. Of course, when they discovered that the universe had a clear beginning, they did not credit the Bible. They just changed their story to include the Big Bang, okay? This also goes to show the major point that the Bible still stays in there swinging, fighting to show it is the truth, without ever changing its stance over thousands of years. See, the evolutionists come across a glitch in their theory, and they just add more adjustments after adjustments after adjustments, and still don't get it right, and end up having to make more adjustments. Interestingly enough, the Bible never adjusts. I mean, it says the same thing from year to year. That is, if you have a actual true Bible, a King James. Okay, the newer ones, they change those all the time. I wouldn't get one of those. Okay, millennia after millennia, the Bible never changes. It is never proven wrong and continues to be proven right over and over and over again. This verse, written around 1410 BC, okay, ahead of science, which catches up in 1921 or so. The Bible said it 3,500 years before science figured it out. Hebrews 11:3. Through faith, we understand that the worlds are framed by the Word of God, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. Okay, this verse, written around 51 AD, demonstrating a knowledge way beyond its years, telling us that the things that are made by things we can't see. Okay, the things we see are made by things we can't see. There are two schools of thought on this. First, that this is referring to the principle that all the finite nature had to come from an infinite cause. See, all finite creation had to come from an eternal cause. If there is no eternal cause for all that exists within our finite universe, then we are only left with acquiring everything in the universe from nothing, like the tree, in the yard. It had to come from a seed from another tree, which had to come from a seed from another tree, which had to come from a former seed from another tree, which had to come from a former seed from another tree. Okay, you can only trace that back finitely to a tree. Okay, and at that point, somewhere it has to have a beginning. And the beginning can only be it comes from nothing, or it comes from something eternal that is already there. Or otherwise it's finite, and it had to have a beginning. And it had to have a beginning, and it had to have a beginning. See, infinite has to have had the finite has to have had an infinite beginning. Something that's always been here. Okay? Or you have to get it from nothing. This is a violation of the law of cause and effect. If all items have a cause, which they must, then there has to be an eternal source, or you must eventually capitulate to acquiring everything from nothing. So it just appeared from nothing, or it just appeared from nothing when God created it. Without God, everything had to form in a pure vacuum with no cause. The second option is that this is referring to the atom. Science did not discover till the mid-1900s that all matter that we see is made up of atoms and electrons and protons and etc. that we can't see. Whichever of these is the case, it was truly no discovery to the Bible. The Bible already said it 2,000 years prior to science learning it. The statement the Bible makes just happens to be correct thousands of years before science figured it out. Thanks a lot. I'll put this up, and I'll try to get a couple more of these up as they're very interesting and good.